We all do it. I just need to watch one more episode before I start this project. This seems like a good time to do all of the laundry I've been putting off. I'll go and call my friend back, and then I will start my work. The number of excuses that we tell ourselves daily in order to try to justify our lack of motivation or the way we feed into that little voice in our heads, which can be quite loud at times as it tries to convince us to do anything else but the actual task we know we need to complete. Sound familiar? That's procrastination. This urge to procrastinate can almost feel so strong that it overwhelms any rational thoughts we have for completing the activity, which frankly most of us don't want to do. But is procrastination just us being lazy? Thankfully, we can dismiss the myth that procrastination is the same as laziness because it's not. Laziness is voluntarily knowing that you don't want to put in any effort needed to complete a task, whereas procrastination is more of a mental avoidance strategy that we use to cope with some type of stressor. Those who frequently procrastinate also often suffer from feelings of shame, anxiety, and depression. Procrastination is the act of delaying or postponing something. Procrastination serves as a defense mechanism to protect us from something we view as a threatening stressor. These stressors can be created in various forms, such as a test we don't want to study for, a project we don't want to start, or a phone call we don't want to make. In order to deal with the stressor we've encountered, our bodies release adrenaline, activating our natural fear response, and therefore making us go into flight or fight mode. This is when we often replace the stressor with something that is non-threatening, such as a distraction of going on our phones, watching TV, or surfing the web. As soon as we engage in an activity that rewards our minds and relieves our immediate stress, we've started a cycle of procrastination. Even though procrastination relieves our stress in the short term, in the long run it can be quite damaging. So what are some of the strategies that have been proven to actually work and stop this addicting cycle of procrastination? Tip number 1. Understand that procrastination is not your identity. It is a habit that can be broken. As described by motivational speaker Mel Robbins, when we start to view procrastination as a habit rather than part of our identity, we can learn to change and reprogram this practice. Think of the habit of procrastination as a loop. When we encounter a stressor, our immediate response is to avoid it. How do we avoid it? We do anything else that would ease our initial stress and make us feel more comfortable. For example, when you're about to work on a project that you don't want to do, how often do you notice yourself immediately reaching for your phone to check your messages or socials one last time? How often do you find yourself clicking just one more YouTube video before you start your work? That instantaneous action that we take to avoid our desired task is the trigger to starting our procrastination path, causing us to waste minutes or even hours on activities that aren't bringing us closer to our actual goals. Breaking this cycle is key to stopping this procrastination loop. We need to recognize when we are feeling these uncomfortable moments and triggers in order to combat them. The scary part is leaning into moments of being uncomfortable in life and recognizing what these distressing times are telling us. We need to transform these moments from fear into progressive and positive lessons, understanding that they can be beneficial to us as well. Simply acknowledging these uncomfortable moments, we begin to create more control in our actions of how to stop these stressors from overwhelming us. And we can transition into reframing our minds to accept the fact that we feel stress, realize that it's okay and natural to feel this unease, and from there we can step into starting the task with more confidence and intention. Just beginning the task for 2 minutes can prove to be an effective way to break the procrastination loop and overcome some of those initial fears and stressors. Tip number 2. Make everything else boring. Joey from the YouTube channel Better Ideas described an interesting method of viewing difficult tasks as the only option we have. Eliminating anything else from our environment that would deviate our attention to another activity, such as using our phones, eating, or surfing the web, will leave us with one of two options. Do the difficult task, like starting a project, or sit in boredom. Studies have shown that humans are more likely to do any sort of task rather than sit in boredom. So, if you're feeling the urge to procrastinate, removing these types of distractions from your surroundings can help to create that sense of boredom that is needed to view our difficult task as something that is now desirable. Tip number 3, change the narrative. Procrastination has a negative connotation to it. It not only makes us feel like it's something shameful that we do, but it's creating an association between the task at hand and pairing it with the idea that we dislike engaging with it. But what if we shift this narrative into something that creates a positive association with the task, rather than pinning it as something negative that we are dreading to complete? Instead of asking ourselves, how can we start a task that we don't actually want to do? We should be asking, how can we make the task more enjoyable? Ways that we can make these activities more pleasurable include making a game out of completing part of the task and rewarding yourself with something that you really want, such as food or an activity that you want to do later on. Romanticizing the actual process of completing the task is another way to change the narrative. If you have a project to complete, try setting up your space in a way that is clutter-free, clean, and place your favorite drink nearby to create a cozy atmosphere where you are excited to work. Even pretending that you are the main character of a story or movie creates a fun and motivational connection to the activity. Creating this type of story also makes completing the project less personal to any self-conflicting ideologies of perfectionism or inferiority that we might have, which can be another reason for why starting the task can be difficult, and why we procrastinate in the first place. Procrastination is a natural part of life. One of the biggest lessons to overcoming it is to give yourself grace whenever you are in a procrastination slump. I think it's so easy for us to be hard on ourselves for not doing enough, or blaming ourselves when we feel like we aren't trying, or whenever we aren't as motivated as we should be. But having that negative self-talk hinders our ability to overcome periods of procrastination. We need to recognize reasons why we procrastinate, and it isn't because we aren't doing enough or because we are lazy, but rather it's just a simple stress response. From understanding this, it becomes our job to now reframe how we view procrastination, and know that through the use of some of these strategies, we no longer have to give it as much power over our mindset as we initially thought.